You are now listening to the So podcast. Ahora estás escuchando el podcast.
Welcome to a very special episode of the podcast. I was blessed to interview Jah Indigo, the baby sister of the late great Andre Hicks, aka Mac Dre, who was assassinated November 1st, 2004 in Kansas City, Missouri. His murder has yet to be officially solved, but if you do no digging, there's enough paperwork online to connect the dots. This interview is definitely dedicated to Mac Dre, Reek Daddy, all the other fallen Bay Area soldiers, everybody else we've lost. Rest in peace.
I can feel it all the way down in my plums.
Yeah! So the what?
Jah, welcome. Thank you for taking your time today on the podcast. This episode is going to be a barn burner. Today I have the lovely Miss Jah Hicks, aka Indigo Jah, aka the baby sister of Bay Area rap legend Mac Dre. Welcome, Jah. Can I call you Jah? You prefer Miss Hicks, Indigo?
Everybody calls me Jah. I'm known by Jah. My radio is Jah Indigo. I have a business that I go by that name too, but Jah is fine.
Jah it is. You can follow Jah on Insta at Jahyadada, JAHYAADADA, or check her out as the host of Queen's Table at www.hype-radio.com. Let's get to it. Jah, what's it like being the baby sister of the greatest Bay Area rapper of all time?
Well, nowadays, now that I'm older, I find that people are really respectful in regards to addressing me with, who I am or who my brother is, so I don't, not now, but when I was younger, it was quite different because especially when he was here, people would give me a hard time. I would hear things like, that ain't your brother, or that's your half brother, or, I would definitely have issues with girls a lot about it. But now today, no, most people are just really like, happy and excited and have questions. I haven't had anybody really be disrespectful.
As they should. Cats in the Bay are lunatics. Were there ever any times where you were drawn in any beef due to your brother?
That's funny. You said that. I did. At the time that I was experiencing those issues, I was in elementary school. So my brother was locked up at the time. And there were a few people that's from the hood, from the Crest, that were young kids that had connects to Dre because their older brother or cousins would talk to him on the phone. So I was dealing with, like I said, girls at school used to, make a big deal. And there was guys too that would make a big deal out of it. But it was this one dude who actually, my brother had called his brother. And the young dude, had the opportunity to speak to my brother on the phone and ask him who I was. So he actually was the person to come back and like, yeah, that's really his sister. Like he was the one to vouch. It was kind of better. It was that way. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that it was somebody else. So that kind of solidified and shut some people up, about it.
I'm sure with the naysayers, there can be groupies. We all know Dre had them. Did you ever have any?
Yeah.
Anyone trying to suck up to you?
Yeah. And I honestly would say as I got older, I was able to recognize it. When I was younger, not so much, but when I was older, I would recognize that people would want to be around or for whatever little, things that they may get out of it, whether it's going somewhere or being around certain people. So as I got older, I began to recognize that. I have to say, as I got older, I recognized it even with some relatives that maybe weren't that close to Andre and would come around me to be able to engage in certain things and be around him. So, yeah.
No doubt. I got to know, what was it like growing up with Dre as a big brother? We all know how he felt about snitching, so I hope he never snitched on him. Did he ever pick on you or anything like that?
He didn't pick on me at all. He was honestly a great big brother. We're 10 years apart. So the time that we spent together was at my dad's house when I was little. And from what I remember, and even stories that my dad has shared with me, where people would bring up, it was always good. He was always really helpful. And he was like that when I got older too, would like tell me right and wrong type of stuff. Like for instance, our birthday, some people know that our birthdays are 2 days apart. I spent birthdays with him, and one in particular, I remember he was helping me light fireworks, and actually I ended up burning my finger with him because we both right there trying to light, and I didn't move quick enough. So that's just kind of instance like how he was. He was a good brother. He was always showing me stuff. I never picked on me. I just say one time though, I do remember when I got older in my 20s and I was coming into my womanhood, and I had called myself starting to wear makeup at the time and wearing some contacts, and he did not like that at all. So when I came to the studio, I'm with my older cousins. They grown, and he see me, and he used to me being a tomboy. 90s, we TLC dress baggy. Then when he seen this change and he seen these contacts in my eye, he turned all the way around and was like, "What the fuck is you doing? Why y'all got my sister looking like this?"
I have a little sister. I couldn't relate more.
Yeah.
Okay, so Cutthroat Committee was the soundtrack at Dan Foley Park in Vallejo the summer that it came out. Why wasn't Reek Daddy in the Cutthroat Committee?
That's a great question. He should have been. He was a great compliment to Dre. Like, honestly, Reek Daddy, I loved his flow. I loved his realism. Like, Reek Daddy was dope, for real. For surely, I completely agree. Every time Reek came with something, like, I could just every time, he never let me down. And I totally feel like he was underrated. I don't know all the background to why he, didn't get to that next level, but he definitely deserved it. I definitely was a Reek Daddy fan.
I know Reek Daddy has also passed. Rest in peace to a real one. He was hospitalized at one point, right?
He had cancer. He didn't come out with it till later, Yeah, Reek Daddy. He used to be around, like, there's certain ones that I've been around with my brother. And Reek Daddy was one for sure. That's why he always was respectful, always cool, didn't act funny. And I remember when my brother had the burnt orange Range Rover, we was out here in Sacramento and we was all kicking it at my cousin's house, and he needed to get to Vallejo, and Dre wasn't feeling like driving. And he had me drive Reek and Doobie back to Vallejo. I'm young. Imagine, and they older than me. I'm young, and this nigga was like, "Hey, she'll take you home." They booty was so tight riding back to Vallejo because he trusted me to drive. So, hey, they had no other choice.
Wow. Dre let his little sister squat the Range Rover from Sacramento back to Vallejo? And I guess Dre really was as fearless as they say.
Yeah.
So where's your branch on the Hicks family tree?
So I am my dad's daughter. My dad was a Rolling Stone. My dad was a player. So we have two other brothers. I don't know them that well. They're younger than us. Andre never met them, but I had met them a couple of times when they were babies. Well, one of them when he was a baby, and the other one, I don't know. I know their name, but I haven't got a chance to meet them. And our dad had passed away, so I got to see them at my dad's funeral.
Okay. And how about your mother? Was she okay with her baby girl's big bro being the gangster Mac?
So my mom, she loved him. So the thing about like the relationship, which people don't know in detail. So my mom, my dad, and Andre were cool. Like Dre respected my mom. They had a good relationship. When he used to come to my house and pick me up when I was younger, like teenager younger, they chopped it up all the time. It was like he was really cool, respectful. They had a good relationship. So it was never no weird energy between them. My mom didn't really know the other two kids, so that was more kind of weird. And I don't think that the lady and her got along much. But as far as me and Andre goes in their relationship, she knew him since he was a little boy. She was around when he was, 10, 11, 12 as a teenager. So they had a good relationship.
By the lady, you mean Mac Wanda, right?
So as far as the dynamics goes with Wanda, I seen her when I was little growing up. I've been to her house as a little girl. I remember moments my dad had shared with me. I remember moments when she stayed like, it's kind of like Beverly Hills-ish. And I remember, I painted the picture to my dad before, because he was like, "You remember that?" And we went down to her house, down this long driveway was really dark. And I remember he brought me over there. We was getting Andre or whatever the case may be. So she's always seen me as a little girl growing up. She's known me. I went over there with my brother. He would bring me over there like when he first got out. So she's always seen me. She know who I am. It's not any weird energy, but as far as me hanging with them, Wanda and Andre, I didn't hang with them as a little girl. I was always with my dad and Andre.
Okay. What was your father like? He was in Confunction, right, back in the day?
Yeah, that's good. Look at you. Yeah, my dad was in Project Soul. They're from Vallejo. Project Soul actually moved on to be Confunction, but when they first got started, they were Project Soul. And my dad sang and he played guitar.
So music is in the Hicks bloodline.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it's in our blood. My grandfather, my dad's dad, was also in a band too. That was way before my time, but I've heard stories about him, and he was in the music. So music definitely on the Hicks side for sure.
Did Dre play any instruments?
I haven't heard him play, not guitar or anything like that, besides him being on the keyboard. Yeah, I've seen him make beats, like being on the keyboard and stuff like that, but not actually seen him on a guitar. But he probably could, because my cousin Baby Rock, Sherrod, played guitar a little bit. So I'm sure that they were really close cousins. So he probably played the strings a little bit, but I've never seen him do it.
So where do you hail from, Jah?
I'm from Vallejo, born and raised. I grew up in North Vallejo. So I lived in what's called College Park.
I'm familiar.
That's right next to the Crest. And I got a lot of cousins, aunties and stuff. So I would be in the Crest, but I was in College Park. I lived in Rancho, which is another part of North Vallejo as well. So I grew up in North Vallejo.
Yeah, I grew up in Central on the corner of Tennessee and Georgia. I'm a fellow pedestrian.
I used to be in Central Vallejo too. That's where my grandfather, me and Andre's dad, our grandfather was Central Vallejo. A lot of relatives there too.
So tell me more about you and Dre's dad.
My dad, he was pretty open about everything. But my dad was in the streets. And so because of that, I think there, as far as the things that he did, he didn't get a chance to share all his stories like that. We were really close, but as far as like the life he lived when he was a young man, I only know bits and pieces. He shared with me what his relationship was like, with Wanda. And, my dad was in the military. He's always giving me bits and pieces. I knew he loved music and did music, but he never went in depth. And I never really asked either, So, yeah. So now I just learned that stuff from my aunts, uncles, and older cousins. They tell me about it.
Okay. And Dre had a daughter.
Janae, yep. Yeah. I know a lot of people know a lot about her. Janae is about 27, 28 now. Mm-hmm. We're about 9 years apart. And she's around the Bay Area. She do a little traveling thing. We were really, really close when she was younger. I took my auntie, and I still do, but I was really proud to be an auntie. And my brother used to write me all the time and write me letters about, making sure that I was active and visiting her and showing her, showing her love and, doing everything an auntie's supposed to do. So I got letters. She's seen the letters too. And I was really active. I took it really, really seriously. And ironically, when she was a little girl, my mom and her mom happened to live in the same apartments. So we literally lived 2 doors away from each other. So I got to see her all of the time. Not to mention I would go to her grandma's house and stuff like that. So as a young girl, I was always around her.
Okay, so Dre came to pick up his little sister and met a bad one.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's DeAndre up to now?
So she's doing her thing. She got some kids. I don't see her as much as I would like to because now she's a grown woman and, she do her own thing and she grown and I don't get to see her as much as I used to see her.
Wow, Grandpa Andre.
I know. I be tripping on that. Dude, you is a whole grandpa. I love the name of Grand Mac.
Girl, I know that's right. So, to switch gears a little bit, you really didn't come out and say much after your brother was assassinated.
At one point, I didn't speak out as much because I was unsure of who and what surrounding what happened to him. So it was kind of like, I was very angry. So if I was to say anything, it wasn't going to be nice about, you know, how I felt. So part of it was that. Another part of it was kind of like I was made to feel like an outsider in a sense. Everybody was his brother, sister, all these people I've never seen. There's only a few that I've experienced, like I was telling you earlier, it's been me, Andre, and these other people. All these other people that was brothers, sister, and all of this, I didn't know anything about it. And everybody's telling all their stories and this, that, and the other. So it's kind of like just letting people have the platform to say what they wanted to say. It was like a race of who can feel that they was the closest to Dre. You know, it was irritating. It was like, I started almost feel like, oh, if I say something, it's like, how could you separate the real from the fake? You know what I'm saying? I just kind of sat back because it was just a lot. I've seen YouTube videos of some random girl talking about she was Dre's sister. The girl did a whole interview. What the hell? It was just weird. And it's only one. I'm the only girl. One only got one other son. I know for a fact, I know. And it's like, okay, it just was so many people coming with their stories that it just felt like, what's going to make me any different than anybody else? Why say anything? So I just really kind of kept it inside. And like I said, I was just hurt and full of anger. And then it came a point where, you know, that's the way that I dealt with it, by not really saying too much about it.
And do you feel like you handled that correctly?
Yeah, a lot of people, though, have told me that I should have been saying something, or, you know, I've heard so many things like, wow, why you ain't spoke up, or how come nobody knows about you? I've heard a lot, like I should have been said something, but it just seemed like it was just so much of a bombardment of everybody telling their stories. And then it was kind of like you got the Thiz camp and all of them telling all their stories. They didn't reach out to me. And why would I be reaching out to my brother's friends to tell my story? You know what I'm saying? So as far as that goes, I really didn't have a platform to speak to. You know, I had people come to me and interview. I had a couple of interviews that happened and I never seen anything come through with them. But
I hear you. Back then, there were a lot of different artists and things coming out on Thiz that were questionable. At this point, are there any artists on Thiz?
To my knowledge, no. I definitely do still see I guess you have some people that feel like they still, but as far as sign, I know Wanda doesn't have anybody signed, and Kurt, Kilo, running that angle. And to my knowledge, I've heard Wanda even say that she doesn't want to deal with any artist. So any artist that's doing anything is doing it on their own and repping the stamp,
For Chickadoo. And that concludes part one of the interview with Mac Dre's little sister, Jah Hicks, a.k.a. Jah Indigo. And we appreciate you for tuning in. Thanks for having us. And come back. Hear the next part. It gets a lot deeper into Dre's life and a few personal stories that I know other people have not heard before, that's for sure.
Hey, this is Joe Biden here, and I like Corn Pops. I also love the YSP podcast. It's my favorite podcast on the thing with the dog-faced pony soldier. Thanks for listening to the YSP podcast. Take the shot.
Make America great again, man.
This is Donald Trump, and you're listening to YSP. Nobody loves podcasts more than me, and my favorite one is YS Making Podcasts Great Again.
And I'm out.
Let's drink some beers and